The Detroit Lions are projected to make a major move at wide receiver. At least this is from a local article that I'm seeing. But at the same time, I am in this video going to tell you why they should and should not make that move. I think one of the biggest questions that many of us have is, should we trade for T. Higgins, or should we go after a receiver in free agency, someone like, let's say, Amari Cooper next year? Or if the Bengals aren't doing well, should we be trading for Amari Cooper? And we're going to look at kind of what that looks like, how that would change the team, and why I think it would be a good and bad idea all at the same time. So stay tuned so you can see both of them. If you've yet to hit that subscribe button on this channel and you've watched multiple of our videos, hit that subscribe button. If you haven't, watch this video. See if it makes sense. See if you like it. And then maybe thinking about hitting that subscribe button. So a couple things for you. Based on NFLanalysis.net, which, by the way, they have a ton of stuff. I just found this website. The Lions are projected to make a major move at wide receiver. They're one of the top teams in the NFC heading into the 2024 campaign, but they do have a bit of uncertainty at wide receiver. Kind of. All right. Obviously, the Lions have Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's one of the best, but beyond him, there isn't much stability at the position. All right. They lost Josh Reynolds. We know that, and leaving largely unproven Jamison Williams. That is the linchpin in all of this, which is also some of the argument toward should they or shouldn't they. They went on in this article talking about Cleveland Browns star Amari Cooper and Cincinnati Bengals stud T. Higgins as two names that could potentially be up for grabs midway through the season. Both receivers are heading into contract years, so if one of the Browns or Bengals or both clubs appear to be out of it on November 5, it stands to reason that Cooper and Higgins could be available. Here's the thing about doing that. You are then going to have to make a trade. Now, what are you going to be able to get for someone like that? When you looked at an aging Keenan Allen, who just went from the Chargers to the Bears, it only cost a fourth-round pick for the Bears to pay him an extremely large amount of money this year and then have no certainty after that. I think both Amari Cooper and T. Higgins would go for more. I think with Amari Cooper, it would have to be at least a third-round pick if they're out of it, and it doesn't look like they're going to be able to re-sign him. With T. Higgins, I think it's going to be a second-round pick in order to get him if they're out of it. But also, if they're out of it, it means Joe Burrow's hurt again. And they need to really rethink what they're doing with that organization, and if Joe Burrow can stay healthy consistently. But that's not what this is about. So let's look into, and first let me give you just a few minutes on why T. Higgins is a good idea. One of the stats I like to look at when I'm looking at a player and how good they are, and I know it's dependent on the quarterback, but trust me, I'm going to go further with this, is what is the passer rating when targeted? Now, this past year, T. Higgins was hurt all the time. And it was probably his worst year in the NFL yet. He had 656 yards, 5 touchdowns, but passer rating when targeting was 103.2. In 2022, it was 121. That is remarkable. In 2021, it was 112. And in his rookie season, it was 106. So when he was healthy and not a rookie, it was 112 and 121. Now, oh yeah, he's got Joe Burrow throwing him the ball. I know. That's why I'm looking at Jamar Chase. This past year, when T. Higgins was banged up, Joe Burrow's passer rating when throwing to him was 103.2. Jamar Chase, 107.8. That's really close. In 2022, T. Higgins, when Joe Burrow targeted T. Higgins, by the way, 104 times to the tune of 1,029 yards, the passer rating when targeted was 121. Jamar Chase, 104. How about 2021? When targeting Jamar Chase, it was 121. All right, and for T. Higgins, 112. So in the 3 years that Jamar Chase has been in Cincinnati, Joe Burrow actually is a more efficient, better thrower when going to T. Higgins than Jamar Chase. That is an argument for how this guy is elite, and the only reason we view him as a number 2 wide receiver is because he's playing with Jamar Chase. I think T. Higgins can be Mike Evans-esque if he can stay healthy and keep his career good. He can do a lot of things. He can win contested catches. He has enough speed to beat you deep, but he doesn't have to beat you that way. All right, so let's continue on now with that's why we would go for him. Let's continue on okay, maybe. All right, let's go to the maybe. Detroit Lions salary cap this year, it says 38. It's actually 34 because of that $4.2 million or whatever it is that we now currently owe Cam Sutton. Oh, it drives me nuts. But anyways, we would absolutely have the money to take on his contract this year. Next year, we would still have it, but it wouldn't be as much. We have $71,000. If you look at that, in the case of all teams, that is the seventh most cap room, $71,000. We could afford him next year, but remember, you're going to have to pay Decker. You're going to have to pay McNeil. And then in 2026, when we have the 17th most money available, and a lot of that is held up in 3 contracts, Goff, St. Brown, and Sewell. All right, when we have the 17th most, you are now going to have to pay Hutch as well. So is it doable? Yes. But do you want to bring in T. Higgins and pay him $28 million a year? You can't pay him more than St. Brown, but do you want to pay him $25 to $29 million a year, even up to that 30 number, to be a number 2 wide receiver for us? That's a question that you have to ask yourself. That is when I start to lean toward the no. And then I started doing some more research. Last year, here are the top 5 wide receiver rooms based on how much you are paying them in salary. Number 1, this is from 2023, going into 2023 from Warren Sharp. All right, Cardinals, $53 million. Broncos, $43 million. Raiders, $43 million. Jags, $41 million. Browns, $39.7 million. How many of those teams made the playoffs? 1. How many of those teams were competitive? 2. How many of those teams had terrible years? 3. All right, it's not great. Then when you get into the next 5, all right, now you're getting into some more competitive type stuff. It's the Bucs, the Dolphins, the Rams. So early playoff exit teams. Then the Seahawks and the Bears. Those are your top 10 teams. What about 2022? The top 4 teams that were paid. He only did a list of 4 in this one. It was the Patriots at $72 million, the Jags at $54 million, the Chargers at $50 million, and the Giants at $47 million. So I don't think that paying ridiculous amounts of money to wide receivers is what brings teams over the hump. In fact, what it does, when you pay a ton of money at wide receivers, you can only give them so many targets. So a lot of times that weakens the rest of your team. It helps. It doesn't give you the opportunity to have that solid team across the board. So I would worry about it. Would I love an offense that has Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and T. Higgins, and Jared Goff manning the helm? Yeah. I would love to see that offense. That would and should be the best offense in the NFL. But you would absolutely be taking your lumps in other places. You'd be saying, I need Manu, all right, Giovanni Manu, to become the left tackle or the right tackle of the future because I can't pay Decker. I need a couple of these young defensive tackles to play really well because I can't pay Aleem McNeil. You just can't. You can't pay Decker, McNeil, and Higgins. You can pay Decker and Higgins. You can pay McNeil and Decker. You can pay Higgins and McNeil, maybe, depending on what kind of year McNeil has this year and how much you have to give him. But you can't pay them all. So you have to ask yourself the question, would you rather have Higgins than one of those other guys? And there you kind of have your answer to whether or not you think the Detroit Lions can afford him. All right. Thanks for watching. Hope you liked it. See you on the next one.